Hello students, good morning. I am your teacher Dolcy and today we are going to start next topic from your chapter Human Reproduction, and the name of topic is Human Female Reproductive System. Means in this topic we will discuss only about various body parts that are reproductively introduced in the female reproductive system. So, the human female reproductive system, as you all know, is concerned with the formation of ova, its fertilization, the development of fetus, and ultimately the birth of child. So, this type of reproductive system is observed or it is located in the pelvic region of a human female. So, you must know what are the various kinds of the structures that are found in the female reproductive system. So as is displayed on your screen in the diagram, that human female reproductive system comprises of ovaries, then uterus, then cervix, then vagina, and ultimately the external genitalia. So the primary reproductive organ in the female are ovaries, while the all other like fallopian tube, uterus, vagina, they comprises of the female accessory duct. Means the major function of production of sperm, it is done by the human female ovary only, while all other organs are just helpful for transfer of ova from one place to other and for the movement of sperm toward the egg. So here first organ are the ovaries, and ovaries are the primary sex organs of the human female. So they are a kind of paired structure present on both the sides of abdominal cavity. They are almond in shape, size is very small, whitish in color, and they are present above or just at the pelvic region of the human female. Okay? On the center of these two ovaries, a structure is present that is said to be the uterus, or we can say the ovaries are present on the either side of the uterus. Okay. So ovaries is attached to the pelvic wall and by the uterus by the formation of a special kind of ligament that is said to be the ovarian ligament. So ovarian ligament represents the attachment of the ovary to the pelvic wall and the uterus. So I will show you the brief description or the explained description of the diagram of ovary in the next topic, in the next diagram. Up to then you have to be familiarized with the other organs as well so that we can explain. Next part is the fallopian tube. Fallopian tube are the paired tubes that are ciliated and muscular in structure, and they have the tendency to originate or extend from the periphery of ovaries up to the uterus. Means they originate from ovary, pick the ova from the ovary and moved toward the uterus. Okay? And next there are further three parts of the fallopian tube. First one is the ampulla, second one is the isthmus, and third one is the uterine part. Ampulla is the outermost, widermost part as is shown in diagram. It is funnel shaped part which opens up in the fimbriae shaped structure that is said to be the ostium. Means the fimbriae are the finger like projections which have tendency to pick up the ova from the ovary and they transfer that ova through the infundibulum to the ampulla. From that, ostium receives the egg from the ovary. Then the fimbriae are finger like projections, and ultimately the broadened part that is between the fimbriae and the ampulla is the infundibulum. Next part is the isthmus that is very narrow in diameter, middle in position and bear cilia, which is a connection between the ampulla and the uterine part of the human female reproductive system. Ultimately, third part is the uterine part. It is inner, narrow part which opens up ultimately or finally into the uterus. So we have three parts of fallopian tube: ampulla, first one, second one isthmus, and third one is uterus. Function of fallopian tube is just to transfer the ova from the ovary to the uterus. This is the only function of the fallopian tube. Next we are on the uterus. So uterus is nothing, it is known as mother womb. It is a large hollow muscular structure that is inverted pear shaped, means its shape is just like a inverted pear is placed inside the abdominal portion of the human female in the pelvic region between the bladder and the rectum region. Okay, so uterus also has three parts. First one is fundus, second one is body, and third one is cervix. Fundus is the large-most upper dome-shaped part. Body is the middle or main part where three muscular layers are present. First one is perimetrium, that is outermost layer. Second one is myometrium, muscular layer. And third one is endometrium, the innermost layer. Ultimately, the last part of the uterus is the cervix. It is the lower narrow part which opens up into the internal OS. Means it ultimately open up into the internal OS, internal sphincter, which open up further into the external OX or the external sphincter, which is a kind of path that is said to be the cervical canal or the birth canal, through which the baby is delivered, or the major uterine contraction that are observed at the time of parturition are due to this less contractible area that is known as the cervical canal or the birth canal. So the function of the birth canal and the cervical canal is to ensure the parturition. Function of uterus, the wall that is endometrium, it is the site of implantation of baby. The fetal growth of the baby, it occurs in the uterus region of the human female. The placenta formation occurs in the uterus region of the female. Myometrium, muscles which are necessary for the parturition or the labor pain that is observed at the time of delivery in the human female, that are also responsible due to the uterine myometrium of the human female. Next part is the vagina. So it is a long muscular tube that is just back to that of the rectum and the anal canal, and it originates from the cervix. It is very vascular, it means it is very rich in blood supply. It has thick mucous membrane to ensure that baby will not fall during the 9 months of gestation, and it is raised into transverse fold that are known as vaginal rugae, the special type of a kind of extensions or fold that are present in the human female reproductive system in the vaginal region are said to be the vaginal rugae. And these rugaes ultimately open up into the vaginal orifice or the vaginal opening. Vagina, the function of vagina is to ensure the copulation, and it is known as the birth canal in combination with the cervical canal. Okay. Next diagram that shows us the ovaries as the primary sex organs of the human female, as the external structure as I explained you during our first diagram. Now I am going to explain you the internal or LS of the human female reproductive system, that is the ovary specifically. So you must know that ovary is a structure that is solid internally and it is lined externally by germinal epithelium. As you all know, all the gonads, while testes, while ovaries, they are covered up or insulated by a kind of external membrane known as germinal epithelium. Inner to its presence of inner stroma or matrix is observed, which is differentiated into two regions. Whenever matrix is present, the two layers are present in each and every organ of your body. Outer one is said to be the cortex, inner one is said to be the medulla, where alveolar connective tissue is present to ensure the blood supply, the connective tissue presence, and other kind of tissues are present here. So there are number of small oval rounded or small of follicles are present in the ovary as is represented in the diagram. They are said to be the primary ovarian follicles. Okay, and in the diagram various stages of development of ova are shown. They represent the stages of oogenesis that are taking place in the medullary region of the human ovary. During first month, a primary follicle means when we are in the womb of the mother, then a female ovary, it transforms into a mature Graphene follicle under the stimulation of FSH hormone, that is said to be the follicular stimulating hormone. This hormone is secreted by the anterior lobe of pituitary. Ultimately, firstly, germinal epithelium, it divides to form primary follicles, then primary follicles divide to form secondary follicle, then they transform into tertiary follicles, and ultimately from the secondary follicle, the secondary oocyte is released. That secondary oocyte is said to be our ova, on which we work or the fertilization takes place. Whenever the ova is released, the leftover follicle is said to be the Graphene follicle. Graphene follicle is about 2.5 centimeter in diameter, or it carries a large cavity that is said to be the antrum. It comprises of three layers. First is theca externa, then is theca interna, and inner to this, in the antrum, a liquor kind of stuff is present in it. The follicular cells that are present in the female reproductive system, they produce the female sex organ that is said to be the estrogen. After the release of secondary oocyte, the leftover structure, that is a pus containing body, is said to be the corpus luteum. It is also known as yellow body because it is yellowish in color, conical in shape. When the corpus luteum, on the onset of, as I told you in the today's lecture, that at the 14th day ovulation occur, followed by that up to 17th day the fertility period lies. After this, on the 15th, after 17th day, when the corpus luteum it start to degenerate and the menstrual flow it originates, in that case a cavity is formed that is said to be the corpus albicans. That corpus albicans is said to be the white body. So in this way, the function of the ovaries are primarily the production of ovas, the production of female sex hormone or hormones. First one is the estrogen, second one is the progesterone, and then ultimately the hormone inhibin, which inhibits the FSH secretion. If the FSH will not release, as I told you, there will be no formation of the follicles. If follicles will not form, then there will be no ovulation, because if follicles are not formed, how can ova be released? If ova cannot be released, then there will be no ovulation occur in the ovary of the female. Okay, so you have to memorize the germinal epithelium, the primary follicles that are so said to be the primordial follicles, then secondary follicles, tertiary follicles, release of ova that is said to be the rupturing of follicle ovulation, the secondary oocyte, the degenerated tissue is said to be the corpus luteum, and then ultimately the corpus albicans, the degenerated white body. Okay. So the last topic for today is the human hormonal control observed in the human female reproductive system as is displayed on your screen. Okay, so your human female reproductive system, it is controlled under the hypothalamus, that is the mastermind of our body, which release a hormone known as GnRH, as I told you in the last lecture, gonadotropin releasing hormone, which stimulates the anterior pituitary to release two hormones, FSH and LH. FSH is said to be the follicle stimulating hormone. LSH is said to be the luteinizing hormone. Both these hormones affect the ovaries to release the sex hormone that are said to be the estradiol and progesterone. As I told you, estrogen released in the non-pregnant female and progesterone is released in the pregnant female. Then the formation of ova and the release of ova, that is said to be the ovulation. The function of LH is to induce ovulation, and the function of FSH is to induce the follicle stimulation, means the formation of follicles. Then the negative feedback also functions here, that ensures the excessive release of the hormone whenever there is not any necessity of any of the required human reproductive hormone. So this is all for today. Thank you.